In Houston, Texas, wetlands are a fading heartbeat, but even still, hope remains in a couple of tiny pockets across the city. While researching for this docuseries project, I had the opportunity and pleasure to speak with a lady named Karen Sprague.
Hi,
Oh,
can you see me?
there you
So
are. Hello.
nice to see you.
You too. Karen is the water quality technician at the Houston Zoo, and she oversaw and helped create the Texas Wetland exhibit that is actually one of the only, if I'm correct, if not the only, self-sustaining exhibit at the Houston Zoo.
Our team is tiny. We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, my boss and I just came up with this. Let's make it a sustainable, just an ecosystem that takes care of itself.
Yeah, well, the Texas Wetland exhibit is probably my favorite at the Houston Zoo. It's just so beautiful and peaceful and inspiring for me to get to see a little tiny micro-sized wetland, just because wetlands are so few and far between now in Houston, Texas. One of the beautiful things that I find extremely present at the Houston Zoo is how passionate they are about conservation. And yes, they might have a little bit of financial incentive to advertise wildlife conservation, but on the whole, the staff and the mission do a really good job about informing zoo guests about the importance of the restoration and protection of natural habitats and species. And this message is present in the Texas Wetlands exhibit as well. By raising awareness around the importance of Texas wetlands and the destruction that they face, Karen hopes to inspire communal change and call to action around preserving these amazing Texan environments.
So before I said I think we have enough smarts to stop ruining things. I'm going to retract that because someone just told me they're doing prairie rescue. They're taking all the plants they can out of the prairie before it's developed. So even the last little tiny patches of prairie we have remaining still are not sacred. So I don't know, other than raising awareness and maybe make people appreciate how much diversity of life is dependent on those wetlands. I mean, some things spend their entire life in the wetland and then others just stop on the way somewhere else. But I can't imagine what we do when we pave over a wetland, even if it's an ephemeral wetland, and it's just summer months, it might be sort of full of water. I mean, for the amphibian population in the area, for the insect population, the bird population, you name it, we're just wiping things out and creating dead areas. I think, the biggest problem with wetlands, period, is basically development. So I think, I can't remember the percentage, please look it up because I'm probably not right, but I think it's something like 60 or 70% or something insanely high of our wetlands have been just bulldozed because historically they've not been valued. It's like, oh, what's this useless piece of swampland? Let's cover over and build over it. And I think that has been the biggest problem. But I think people are becoming more aware that many of our species that we like, if you're a bird watcher or if you're, whatever, everything is dependent on everything else. And the wetlands being one of the most diverse ecosystems in the world, if they're paved over, I can't even fathom the damage that is doing, especially when it happens again and again and again, and you lose such a large percentage.
So, what happens whenever wetlands get destroyed? What happens to the species that depend on wetlands for survival? While asking Karen this question, she came up with a great answer and analogy to describe the impact of destroyed wetlands.
I just kind of think of wetlands as like gas stations on a big road trip. If you don't have anywhere to stop, it's going to be a miserable trip. Like you have nothing to eat, nothing to drink, nowhere to rest. So I just look at it that way because so many birds depend on, they go to the same place on their way up north or back down south. And if it's gone, it's detrimental to their well-being, and possibly survival.
But wetlands aren't just important because they're like rest stops for birds and migrating animals. Wetlands also provide flood control, they help improve water quality, they create homes for hundreds, if not thousands, of species, and they provide food for millions of Americans every year.